He's a billionaire CEO with everything except love? She's just his daughter's nanny, or so he thinks. But what if the woman he's falling for is hiding a secret that could destroy everything? Passion. Betrayal? Secrets? Watch as Damian Kane discovers the truth about Selena Brooks, and the shocking twist that changes their lives forever. Stay till the end, you won't believe what happens. Please subscribe, like, and comment for more thrilling stories meant just for you. Damian Kane believed in foundations, the kind you could build towers on. At 35, he had built Kane Constructions into one of the largest privately owned development firms in the country. Skyscrapers, bridges, luxury resorts. His company's name was stamped across skylines from New York to Dubai. He was known in the business world for his sharp mind, brutal efficiency, and an unshakable confidence that intimidated rivals and employees alike. But while Damian knew how to build empires, he was still learning how to hold together a home. 2 years ago, his marriage had crumbled under the weight of scandals and headlines. His ex-wife had traded motherhood for celebrity life, leaving him with full custody of their daughter, Lily. At 5 years old, she was bright, stubborn, and endlessly curious. She was also the only thing that softened Damian's iron exterior. He could negotiate billion-dollar contracts with ease, but bedtime tantrums left him baffled. And now he needed help. The penthouse doorbell rang, its chime echoing against glass walls and polished stone. Damian straightened his tie and strode through the vast foyer, all dark wood and clean lines, the kind of home that looked more like a showroom than a place a child should live. He had skimmed the agency's file on the nanny candidate, but the name hadn't stuck. They rarely did. When he opened the door, he paused. The woman before him wasn't what he expected. She stood with her posture elegant, hands loosely folded, as if she had been raised to meet powerful men like him. Late 20s, maybe 27 or 28. Her smooth ebony skin caught the soft golden light of the chandelier above, and her black curls framed a striking face with full lips and eyes that were warm but guarded. She wore a simple blouse and tailored pants, but she carried herself with the grace of someone used to more than simple. "Mr. Kane?" she asked, her voice steady, velvet soft. "Yes," Damian replied, his tone clipped, his gaze unflinching. "And you are?" "Selena Brooks. From Hamilton Agency." Selena Brooks. The name rolled through his mind like gravel. He nodded once, stepping aside. "Come in." She entered without hesitation. Her eyes moved across the penthouse. Towering ceilings, steel beams, floor-to-ceiling glass with the city glittering beyond. Unlike the others he'd interviewed, she didn't gape at the wealth. No widened eyes at the Italian art on the walls. No nervous fidgeting. Instead, she observed quietly with a composure Damian found unsettling. Before he could say more, small feet pattered across the marble. "Daddy?" Lily came running, clutching her stuffed bunny, her curls bouncing as she skidded to a stop. She looked up at Selena curiously. "Is this her?" Selena's face softened instantly. She knelt down, bringing herself to Lily's eye level. "You must be Lily," she said warmly. "I've heard you love building blocks and storybooks. Is that true?" Lily's eyes widened with excitement. "Yes. Do you like them too?" "I love them," Selena replied, her smile patient, genuine. "Maybe you can show me your tallest tower later." To Damian's surprise, Lily reached out and slipped her small hand into Selena's without hesitation. Usually it took days for her to warm up to strangers. Damian folded his arms across his chest, hiding his reaction. He cleared his throat. "Miss Brooks, before you start bonding with my daughter, let's discuss expectations." Selena rose gracefully. "Of course, Mr. Kane." They moved into his study, a space more steel and stone than warmth. The wide windows overlooked the construction sites below, cranes lit up against the night sky, silent giants waiting for dawn. Damian settled into his leather chair, studying her across the desk. "This job isn't simple," he said, voice low but firm. "My schedule changes without warning. You'll handle Lily's meals, schoolwork, and activities. You'll travel when required. And one thing above all, discretion. The press would love to pry into my personal life. That cannot happen. Do you understand?" "I understand perfectly," Selena replied, meeting his gaze without flinching. "Your daughter's well-being will always come first. And privacy will never be an issue." Her tone was calm, measured. Too measured. Damian leaned back, narrowing his eyes. Most candidates fumbled beneath his scrutiny. Selena seemed practiced. "Your background?" he pressed. "The agency gave me little more than a resume." Selena hesitated, barely a breath, but Damian caught it. Then she said smoothly, I grew up in Philadelphia. Studied education before becoming a full-time caregiver. I've worked with families who travel often and who require structure. I'm comfortable with both. Polished. Rehearsed. He could hear it in her cadence. Before he could push further, Lily burst into the room again, tugging Selena's hand. Daddy, she's nice. Can she stay? Damian's expression softened despite himself. His daughter's approval carried more weight than any resume. Still, he wasn't one to trust easily. We'll do a trial, he said finally. 1 week. Selena inclined her head. That's fair. Later that night, Damian walked down the hallway, pausing outside Lily's bedroom door. The sound of laughter spilled out, warm and alive. He opened the door quietly. Selena sat cross-legged on the floor beside Lily, who was stacking colorful blocks into a precariously tall tower. Each time it wobbled, Selena gasped theatrically, sending Lily into a fit of giggles. For a man who spent his life surrounded by steel and glass, the sight felt strangely fragile, soft, human. His gaze lingered on Selena. There was warmth in her smile, patience in her tone, and something in her eyes he couldn't quite name. Something hidden. Damian knew foundations. He could sense when something solid had cracks beneath the surface. Selena Brooks was not who she claimed to be. He didn't know why or how, but he felt it. For now she was Lily's nanny. And that was supposed to be the end of it. But as Damian closed the door, he already knew this was only the beginning. For the first time in months, Damian Kane found himself walking into his penthouse after a 12-hour day without the sound of Lily's whining echoing down the halls. Instead he heard laughter. Real, unrestrained laughter. His daughter's voice, high and bright, carried through the expansive living room. Damian set his briefcase on the marble console and followed the sound. Selena was seated on the floor, her legs folded neatly beneath her, while Lily balanced a miniature construction set in front of her. Steel beams, tiny cranes, plastic scaffolding, all gifts Damian had bought but never managed to use with her. Careful, careful, Selena whispered as Lily placed the final beam across the toy structure. It's standing. Lily squealed, clapping her hands. Damian leaned against the doorway, arms folded, a curious weight settling in his chest. He had bought that set 6 months ago, thinking Lily might like to build like Daddy. Instead, she had shoved the unopened box under her bed. But now, under Selena's patient encouragement, Lily was grinning as if she had just topped out the Empire State Building. Selena looked up, catching Damian watching. Their eyes locked for a fraction of a second. Damian straightened, his face unreadable. How was your day, Mr. Kane? She asked smoothly, her tone polite. Long, he said shortly. He stepped into the room, crouching beside his daughter. That's a solid frame, Lily. Did you do this yourself? With Selena. Lily chirped, wrapping her small arms around the nanny's neck. She knows how to build stuff too. Selena laughed softly. I think she's the real engineer here. Damian's gaze flicked to her. Her hands, delicate but steady, rested lightly on Lily's shoulders. Her blouse sleeves were rolled up, a smudge of marker ink near her wrist. She didn't look like she belonged in the penthouse of a billionaire construction magnate. Yet she didn't look out of place either. That contradiction unsettled him. Later that evening, after Lily was tucked into bed, Damian found himself lingering in the kitchen as Selena tidied up. You got her to sit still for over an hour, he said, leaning against the counter. I've seen trained negotiators with less skill. Selena smiled faintly. Children just need patience. And someone to listen. Her words landed heavier than they should have. Damian's jaw tightened. Patience wasn't his virtue. Listening even less so. Where'd you learn that? He asked, studying her as if peeling back layers. Selena hesitated before answering. Experience. Was too vague. Damian caught the slight pause, the way she carefully chose her words. He recognized the tactic. He used it himself in boardrooms when he wanted to dodge a question. He stepped closer. Most nannies I've hired don't know how to assemble a miniature crane, Miss Brooks. You sure education is your only background? Her lips curved into a polite smile, but her eyes flickered, just for a second. I like to learn new things. And children usually love what their parents do. So I thought it would help to understand construction, even if it's only toys. A clever deflection. Damian almost smirked. Almost. He pushed off the counter, deciding not to press further, for now. The next morning, Damian was on a call when Selena entered his study with Lily. No, Peterson, we can't cut steel imports again. We're building a 50-story tower, not a treehouse. He stopped mid-sentence as he noticed Lily padding across the office, her bunny tucked under her arm. Selena gave him an apologetic glance. She wanted to see where you work, she explained quietly. Damian covered the phone's receiver. Not now, he mouthed, irritation flaring. But before he could usher them out, Lily climbed into his lap, settling against him as if the call didn't exist. Are you building another building, Daddy? She asked. Damian froze. He couldn't remember the last time Lily had willingly climbed into his lap during the day. His team on the other end was waiting, but the warmth of his daughter's small weight against him left him strangely still. He cleared his throat, his voice softening. Yes, Lily. A very tall one. Her face lit up. Can I see it when it's done? Damian glanced at Selena, who was watching quietly, her expression unreadable. Then he nodded. Yes, you'll be the first. When Selena gently coaxed Lily out of the office, Damian finished his call, but his focus was fractured. The memory of Lily's laugh, the trust in her eyes, lingered longer than the numbers and contracts. And the image of Selena standing in the doorway lingered longest of all. That night, Damian poured himself a glass of scotch in the living room, staring out at the city skyline. He should have been drafting tomorrow's speech for the investors' meeting. Instead, his thoughts kept circling back to Selena. Her composure. Her elegance. The way she seemed to belong in places most people shrank from. Something about her story didn't fit. He swirled the amber liquid in his glass. Damian Kane had built his empire by recognizing when blueprints hid flaws. And Selena Brooks. She had cracks in her glass. The storm hit Manhattan without warning. By evening, the city was wrapped in heavy rain, lightning splitting the sky in violent flashes. Damian had just returned from a late meeting, his suit damp from the downpour, when he heard Selena's voice from Lily's room. Shoo, it's just thunder, sweetheart. You're safe. Damian stepped into the doorway. Lily was curled in Selena's lap, eyes wide with fear each time the windows rattled. Selena stroked her hair gently, murmuring something soft and soothing. Lily clung tighter to her bunny. What if the glass breaks? It won't, Selena said firmly. Your daddy builds strong things. This home is stronger than the storm. Her words silenced Lily's sobs, calming her far faster than Damian ever managed. He stood there watching them, his chest tightening in a way he hadn't expected. When Lily finally fell asleep, Selena gently tucked her under the blanket. Damian walked her out into the hall, his voice low. You're good with her. Selena gave him a faint smile. She just needs to know she's not alone. Thunder cracked outside, shaking the glass. Damian's gaze lingered on her longer than it should have. The faint light from the hallway lamp framed her features. Smooth skin, dark eyes that seemed deeper than the storm outside, and a quiet strength that unsettled him. Come, he said abruptly. I'll pour you something. You've earned it. They sat in the living room, rain lashing against the windows like fists. Damian poured 2 glasses of wine, handing one to Selena. She accepted, her fingers brushing his briefly. The spark was immediate, unwanted, undeniable. You didn't have to, she said softly, sipping. I did, Damian replied, his tone rougher than intended. He loosened his tie, leaning back against the sofa. You've done more for Lily in 2 weeks than anyone else since the divorce. She laughs again. She trusts again. That's because of you. Selena's gaze lowered. She's an incredible child. She just needs love. And you give it to her, Damian said. His voice dropped, a dangerous edge creeping in. But what about you, Selena? Who gives it to you? Her eyes flicked up, startled. For the first time, her polished composure cracked. I don't, she hesitated, the mask slipping. That's not important. Damian leaned forward, his stare unrelenting. Everything about you is important. Don't think I haven't noticed the way you dodge questions about your past. You're not just some nanny. You carry yourself like, he paused, searching. Like someone used to power. To privilege. Selena's breath hitched. For a moment, her eyes blazed with something. Fear, pride, maybe both. Then she looked away. You're imagining things. No, Damian murmured, his voice low, dangerous. I see things others don't. Lightning lit the room in a flash, and in the silence that followed, the air between them grew taut, charged, like the storm outside. Selena set her glass down. I should. But she didn't finish. Because Damian had already closed the distance, his hand brushing her jaw, tilting her face toward him. This is a mistake, Selena whispered, though her voice shook. Then why can't I stop? Damian's breath was hot against her lips. The first kiss was fierce, born of weeks of tension snapping all at once. Selena stiffened, then melted, her hand gripping his shirt as though anchoring herself. Damian pulled her closer, the taste of wine and thunder between them. It was reckless, forbidden, dangerous. But neither pulled away. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Selena pressed her forehead against his chest. Damian, this can't happen. It already has, he said, his voice dark, certain. And deep down he knew one thing for certain. No storm outside could compare to the one they had just unleashed inside. Damian Kane had always known storms don't last forever. But he hadn't realized the one brewing inside his own home would hit harder than anything outside. For weeks after that night, things had shifted. Selena was still Lily's nanny, but the air between her and Damian was thick with something unspoken. A stolen glance at breakfast, a brush of hands in the hallway, a whispered goodnight that lingered too long. They told themselves it was a mistake, but neither of them stopped. Damian felt alive again. Selena wasn't just a nanny, she was warmth, strength, and the only person who dared to look past his empire and see the man beneath. And that terrified him. The betrayal came on a Tuesday morning. Damian sat at the head of the boardroom table, surrounded by glass and steel, discussing the groundbreaking of his newest high-rise. His executives whispered among themselves, their eyes flicking toward him, uneasy. Finally, Peterson, his oldest advisor, slid a folder across the polished table. "You need to see this, Damian." Damian opened it. Inside was a stack of tabloid clippings and private records. His blood ran cold. Selena Brooks wasn't Selena Brooks. She was Selena Davenport, the estranged daughter of Richard Davenport, a rival construction tycoon who had once tried to destroy Kane Constructions with a hostile takeover. Years ago, the Davenports had been splashed across headlines in a scandal involving embezzlement and fraud. Damian remembered scoffing at it from afar, never realizing that one day, the daughter tied to that mess would be living in his home. Worse, someone had leaked this information to the press. The tabloids had already begun circling, hinting that Damian Kane had been sleeping with the enemy under his own roof. Rage burned through him. Not at the betrayal of his rivals, but at her. Selena. The woman who had looked him in the eyes and lied every single day. That evening, Damian stormed into the penthouse, his jaw tight, his fists clenched. He found Selena in the kitchen, stirring a pot on the stove while Lily colored at the table. She looked up, smiling softly. "You're home early." "Lily," Damian said, his voice rough. "Go to your room. Now." Lily blinked, startled, but obeyed, clutching her bunny as she slipped away. The moment the door clicked shut, Damian turned on Selena. "Selena Brooks," he spat, his voice like steel. "Or should I say Selena Davenport?" The wooden spoon slipped from her hand, clattering into the pot. Color drained from her face. "Damian? You lied to me." His voice thundered through the penthouse. "All this time, you, the daughter of Richard Davenport, you knew exactly who I was. Did you come here to spy? To play some pathetic game on your father's behalf?" "No." Selena's eyes shone with panic as she stepped toward him. "I had nothing to do with my father's business. I cut ties years ago. I changed my name to escape his scandals. I just wanted a normal life." "Normal?" Damian barked a humorless laugh. "Nothing about this was normal. You let me believe you were just a nanny. You let Lily," his voice broke for the first time, rage colliding with heartbreak. "You let my daughter love you." Selena's voice shook. "Because I love her too. Damian, please, you have to believe me. I never meant to deceive you. I didn't want my past to ruin the chance to be here with her, with you." Damian's chest heaved. For a moment, silence filled the room, broken only by the storm still raging outside the windows. Then he whispered, his voice low, raw. "I don't know what to believe anymore." The next days were hell. The tabloids feasted on the scandal, Billionaire CO and the enemy's daughter, and investors questioned Damian's judgment. Every headline felt like a knife. But the worst one wasn't public. It was private. It was the empty chair at Lily's breakfast table. Selena had left, quietly, without a goodbye. Lily cried herself to sleep for days, clutching the stuffed bunny Selena had mended for her. And Damian? Damian threw himself into his work, building higher, faster, harder, as if steel and glass could silence the ache she left behind. It was weeks later when he saw her again. Not in his penthouse, not in a tabloid, but outside the very tower he was building. Selena stood at the construction site gates, her hair whipping in the wind, her eyes filled with a quiet determination. "I had to see you," she said, her voice trembling but strong. "Not to explain, not to beg, but to tell you the truth. I'm not my father's sins. I never was. You can push me away forever if you want, but don't let Lily think I left because she wasn't enough. She deserves better than that. Damian stared at her, every instinct screaming to shut her out, to protect himself and his daughter. But his heart, the one he thought was buried under steel and stone, knew the truth. She wasn't his enemy. She was the woman who had cracked the glass walls around his life, the woman who had given his daughter laughter again, the woman who had made him remember what it meant to be more than just a CEO. And against every rule he had built for himself, Damian Kane made a choice. He stepped forward, took her face in his hands and kissed her, deep, fierce, unapologetic, while the city roared around them. Because sometimes, love was worth the betrayal.